Well, I'm going to show you one report here that's a really interesting way to look at all of this data combined. We call it the talent review, and I'm going to take you through three really interesting things that this one report does. The first is it pulls in all of those questions from the batch evaluations. The second is something we call force distribution, solves a really neat problem in HR. And then the third are these little tails. I'll go to those at the end because they're pretty interesting. Okay, let's jump into the questions. If you remember in the earlier video, we asked our team a whole bunch of questions. Well, now you can take all of the answers to those questions and plot them on a 9-box grid. Looks like this. You might have seen it before. That lets you pick a y-axis, which is usually potential, and an x-axis, which is usually performance, and sort your team into a grid. And that grid will help give you the tools and coaching strategies you need in order to get the best performance out of your crew. You can actually select any of the evaluation questions to be an axis on this graph. For example, we have selected the average display of value from peer, self, and manager reviews, but we can also change that to the manager's evaluation. And we can see what the difference is. You'll see those animated in. Or we can change to the manager's job offer reaction for this particular employee. And you go back to average display of values, because I think that's pretty helpful. And on the x-axis here, you can see that we've selected the employee's performance as judged by the manager. But we can also go in here and do the fully average employee performance. Maybe that incorporates the self eval in there. Now, what you'll see here is something that's probably pretty typical. Everyone is bunched into the star category. And that's for two reasons. One, my team is full of stars. But two, this is just fake data and everyone's crowded up there. So I want to take you to the second really interesting thing that we do with this graph. And that's called force distribution. That will pull apart that cluster and force the maximum distribution of people across this grid. What that lets you do is evaluate everyone, not just in that cluster in the same box, but relative to each other. What box would they go in, and how would we coach those people differently, and what would we change? Something that we think is really interesting, especially as you start to push and pull these different questions against each other. One thing that we wanted to show and surface in our tool was not just this view of what this employee has done for us lately. It's what it is the journey of this employee as they've been at our company. And the way that works is these tails are actually their prior scores, their prior rankings on the same questions over time. So as we switch to a different cycle, a different name of performance review, whether it's the first half or the quarter, or we'll go back to screenshots, you can see these employees move. And so what's actually plotted here is their historical scores. As they've grown and changed and evolved as an employee at our company, you can see how, in this case, a particular employee has gone from an average performer maybe to a high performer. You can see that journey. Something that I think every manager should sort of be proud of when they have someone going in the right direction, and something to watch for as someone maybe dips in the wrong direction, maybe for a brief period of time. Understand why and what happened, and how can we avoid that in the future. So those are the three things that I think are really interesting on this one report. The first is that every single question you've ever asked can be plotted on these two axes. Second is that you can force a distribution so you can really understand the differences between these people and how to coach them differently, or the different states that they're in currently. And the third is that we're not just looking at these people in a moment in time, we're looking at their journeys, across these different boxes as they've been at our company. I think it's something that you'll really like. You'll get a ton of value out of, and I can't wait to get this in your hands.